Tonight, the nightmare tenants who just won't pay the rent.
Going without food and not being able to look after my children because the tenant is not paying the rent on the property is ridiculous.
And the landlords who are left counting the cost.
Oh my God, look at that! Everything needs to be ripped off. For 3 years she's been living here like it.
Good evening and welcome to the Tonight programme. In recent years, the UK has enjoyed a buy-to-let boom, with more people than ever using property as an investment for the future. And for a while, it seemed like a safe bet. Property prices kept increasing and the rent kept rolling in. But in these recession-hit times, things are no longer that simple. According to the latest figures, a record 400,000 private landlords have tenants who have fallen behind with their rent. And it seems getting them to pay up or get out is not always that easy. Jonathan Maitland meets the landlords whose lives are made a misery by nightmare tenants.
Welcome to an eviction, featuring a tenant who doesn't want to go, a bailiff whose job it is to get her out, and of course a landlord, Natasha Hart, who's desperate to get her flat back, plus the man who runs the company which has organised the eviction.
Natasha, the bailiff's just gone upstairs. They're speaking with the tenant who's still there. Tenants never normally stay when it's an eviction, normally they leave before.
Why, there's a possibility that she's not going to be leaving today?
No, I think she should be leaving.
What you're witnessing is a scene that's happening more and more these days. A tenant who owes thousands of pounds in rent and a landlord whose patience ran out a long time ago. This is the flip side of the buy-to-let boom, the bit you don't hear about. The ordinary person who's become a small-time landlord but with a big-time problem. Thanks to the recession, this kind of thing is increasingly common as more and more tenants fall behind with the rent and more landlords take action. But this one is lucky. The tenant may owe her £5,000, but she owns all 6 flats in the property, so it's a financial blip, not a disaster. And eventually, the tenant is persuaded to leave.
But the one thing that we do need to take into account is the fact that the property has got her possession.
Yeah, absolutely. I won't touch it. But I want her to come out now. The moment she walks out of here, that's it.
Finally, after 9 months of legal action, the tenant is out.
I'm very happy. I just want to see the state of the flat, see how much now I have to spend to put it back together.
I think the best thing to do, if possible, maybe if you get a removal van or maybe the council can help you.
I don't want to see her. I don't want to talk to her. I don't want to even ever hear her name again.
The UK now has 1 million landlords, most of them, like Natasha, with just one house.
Oh dear.
This place is her future. It gives her an income and it'll provide for her pension.
Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear.
Right now, though, an income is the last thing on her mind.
She never cleaned the flat. Oh, oh my God, look at that. Oh, look at that. All right.
Smells in here as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, let's have...
Let's have the windows.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
For 3 years she's been living here like a... It's dirt. Look at this.
New sink.
Right, everything needs to be ripped off.
You've got to be very careful that we don't touch anything.
The whole place needs everything new.
Wash machines.
Oh my God, it's blocked.
It's all blocked. The water's all blocked.
Okay, the bathroom needs redoing.
This was a sad story. The evicted woman was struggling to cope, but had refused help from social services. And the other tenants in the house, meanwhile, found her behaviour so difficult, they'd threatened to leave.
To see the back of her was the best thing ever happened to me in the last 10 months. I don't care about the mess, I don't care about the dirt, I'm just so happy that she's gone. I tell you, it's I won the lottery today. This is my lottery. God, I would have liked a real one. But that's it. It's wonderful. It's wonderful.
Recent surveys suggest Natasha and more than 400,000 other private landlords have been owed money by their tenants in the last 3 months. That's the highest figure ever recorded. Are you seeing more evictions now in your business, and if so, why?
Definitely. Last year we did over 2,000 instructions on behalf of landlords, and I think the main reasons, one is that we hit recession, two, there's more landlords in the marketplace that are renting properties out, and part of the mistake is that a lot of them are amateur landlords, so they get caught. But there is tenants that are definitely milking and playing the system and staying there as long as possible rent-free and just moving on.
There are around 3 million private rented properties in Britain, and nightmare tenants are a very small minority, but they can cause an awful lot of financial and legal trauma. Someone who knows more about property than most is Susanna Etheridge. She's an estate agent, but she too has had problems, big ones. When she got pregnant, she needed more space, but because she couldn't sell her place, she rented a larger property and let out her own flat. She'd become an accidental landlord. The flat was in this converted school near Dartford in Kent.
This one would be my lounge. That was my son's bedroom, and that was my bedroom. I bought it to live in with my son, and we picked it together. It was somewhere that we wanted to be for a long time, and now it's not mine anymore, so it's quite sad.
The first tenants were fine, but then a woman tenant moved in from March to October last year, and she repeatedly refused to pay the rent. The consequences for Susanna were extremely serious.
Well, it was awful. I'm going without food and not being able to look after my children because the tenant is not paying the rent on the property. It's ridiculous. I know she may be struggling, but then so was I. I had children to look after, I had rent to pay, I had bills to pay, and I couldn't afford to be paying for 2 properties just because someone else was selfish enough to not pay their rent.
This is now as close to the flat as she can get. It's the hall inside the converted school. The lack of rent meant that Susanna couldn't pay the mortgage, and the property that she loved was repossessed.
The effect on my family was devastating. It actually separated my partner and myself, and it was really horrible for the children as well. The only control that I managed to achieve was to decide to make myself bankrupt and give the flat up. That's when I actually took control of the situation back.
Susanna's now back with her partner, but bankruptcy means she won't be able to get any form of credit for another 5 years. And she's learnt a lesson that more than a decade as an estate agent never taught her.
I would never do it again. It's too stressful and you have no control over the situation.